SOSG, 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 standing on solid ground.
Hello, this is Kim with Standing on Solid Ground. I am your host of this motivational and inspirational podcast. And today's layer of the month, obedience. Now, in the first part of obedience, we discuss what obedience is and who all have fallen in the guidelines of obeying. But we also have to relate obedience to not only the spiritual world, but in the physical world as well. God wants us to be obedient to the laws of the land. That is biblical. He wants us to follow the rules and regulations, like the speed limit is supposed to be 60 or 70 or even 80. And there are those that are doing some great amount of speed. We're supposed to follow the laws of the land. We're supposed to follow what our leaders are telling us to do. Pay our taxes. Drive with responsibility. Do not drink and drive. Do not drive under the influence of any recreational drugs. Be on time to work. Leave on time. Be to a meeting on time. I want you to do this on time and that on time. Obeying is not just the 10 Commandments. It is everything that we do on this earth, that we have guidelines, rules, and regulations that we must follow. Obedience is one of those things that Satan loves to tip you in. That is the greatest temptation, to not obey and to obey. He wants to create this forum in our brains that, nothing's going to happen to you if you do this. I know the speed sign says 65 miles an hour. You can do 80. Go ahead and do 80 miles an hour. You can get there a little faster. But you can also get yourself a speeding ticket. You can also get yourself in an accident or get yourself killed. That's the flip side of that. Oh, the doctor said that you can't have sweets anymore because you're diabetic. You can have a little bit of something. You can have a little bit of sweets. It's not gonna hurt you, and it can make your blood level go so high till it's unbelievable. But we need to be careful about being obedient and obey the things that we are told to do and not to do. And be diligent in doing so. If you're weighing a substantial amount of weight and they tell you you're eating anywhere between 2,000 to 5,000 calories a day, and you are determined that you're going to eat the way that you want to eat, and doctors is telling you you need to cut back on your sodium, you need to cut back on your sweets, you need to cut back on the junk food, period. And you need to get up and you need to exercise and you need to take care of yourself and eat right, eat proportioned meals, and you do just the opposite, guess what's going to happen? You're going to continue to put on weight, or you could die. Now, I've watched so many people, and I do watch my 600-pound life. I do watch that because this is a mental thing. This is a mental thing that they go through. And I feel bad for them. I really, really do. Because there's so much hidden pain and suffering that goes in behind what they do. Some traumatic event that follows suit that's causing them to eat. Then I watch hoarders, where hoarders go through their process. They have been threatened possibly by the county, by the state, by the city, that if you don't clean up your house, we're going to put you out. We're going to evict you. We're going to condemn your home. But a lot of times we don't associate the reasons why they do it. It's easy to tell them they need to stop eating. They need, eating so much. They need to stop smoking because it's bad for their lungs. They need to stop doing this or that. Obeying is one of those most difficult processes that a lot of us have. It all stems back to the Garden of Eden. Obedience was the biggest factor in the Garden of Eden. Loving God, worshiping God, dwelling in the garden of peace and beauty, of love. God gave them everything that they could ever imagine. Everything. And if we think about it, Noah wasn't the only one that was surrounded by animals. Adam was the one who named them all. He gave name to all of them, including his wife. He gave his wife a name. She was a creation of God. But when God said, thou shalt not, when that thou shalt not come, that should get our attention immediately. It shouldn't be a second thought. Should I scratch my head? That should get your attention. That should be like attention. Whenever the military sergeant, drill sergeants say attention, he got their attention. That should be the same thing with God. When God say, thou shalt not, thou shalt not. Period. That's the end of the story. But when we don't obey, when we fail to listen to the voice of God, or we fail to listen to that drill sergeant, I'm sure that they probably still do push-ups and laps around the track. I'm sure they probably, I don't know their statutes now and what they do. I remember when my brother was in the military, he told us the punishment that they all had to go through at that time. I don't know if it's still the same today. But at any event, obedience can save your life. Disobedience can take your life away. It all depends on the choices that we made. In the case of Adam and Eve, God said, thou shalt not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. When he said, thou shalt not, that should have been the end of it. So whatever else God tell me, I'm just not going to do it. But temptation, that's where temptation came from. Also from the Garden of Eden. What was so different about that tree than about the other trees? What was so beautiful about that tree? All the trees looked the same, I'm sure. They probably were equally as beautiful as that one tree. But it's something about what Satan do to make that a little bit more appealing to the eye. And it's the same as any other tree out there. She chose to eat of that tree, and she fed it to her husband, and they began to see their nakedness. They began to see things. They knew good and evil at that point. And I believe their death began the moment that God kicked them out of the garden. I believe that's when death began. Their death sentence, so to speak. The minute that they disobeyed. And this is why it's important for us to obey the voice of God. that he wants us to obey the laws of the land. They're put in place for a reason. They're not there to just make your life difficult. They're trying to keep you safe. It's all in how we look at it. And it's all in how Satan makes it look. Nobody's going to tell me what to do. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. And if I want to drive 100 miles an hour, that's what I'm going to do. But you're placing other people's lives in danger when you do that. Well, if they learn how to drive then and stay out of my way, it really wouldn't matter. If they don't know how to drive, I know how to drive until you hit that brick wall and your car explode. Immediately you left this world, because you can only play with fire for so long. You play with fire, they always told me you're gonna get burned. We need to obey God and the laws of the land. Because in our disobedience to the laws of the land, we're disobeying God anyway. We're being disobedient. So the layer of the month, the obedience, it has a very profound statement in our lives, because we don't know how close to death we really are when we do disobey. This is Kim with Standing on Solid Ground. You have yourself a wonderful and blessed day.